Israeli settlers torched Hebron's family property for the eighth time on Sunday, July 28th. Israeli settlers severely burned land belonging to Hani Hakel and his family in Hebron. Occupation soldiers, though at first trying to help to stop the fire, ended up blocking the road so that the Palestinian firefighters were delayed in reaching the scene. Several very old olive trees were destroyed in the fire, which swept over the basically immense swaths of land very quickly. In the video below, he speaks about the incident and how the Israeli settlers, soldiers, and police worked together to pressure the Palestinian families to leave the Israeli-controlled H2 district of occupied Hebron. Then we have Sheldon Adelson puts money behind nationwide expansion of Israeli-American Council. The IAC, as they call it, the non-profit umbrella organization that sponsors and supports various activities for Israeli Americans and their families in Southern California, is launching an expansion effort aimed at replicating the IAC's model across the country. The push is to take the LA-based organization national by opening up branches in other major U.S. cities, has been in the works for more than a year. Founded in 2006 as a club of Israeli-American businessmen from LA who had significant contributions to local and national Jewish and pro-Israel organizations, the organization was known first as the Israeli Leadership Council in March of this year. It says here its leadership announced its new name, emphasizing the American identity of this immigrant community. In public shift, Israel calls for Assad's fall. It says Israel has wanted Assad gone since the civil war began. Again, they call it a civil war, but Israeli ambassador Michael Oren has revealed that the Israeli government has been privately seeking regime change in neighboring Syria for the past 2 years. The main reason is that it would be aimed at Iran, saying that the regime change in Syria with Assad would be a significant blow to Iran. So we pretty much know that, and we also know that the rebels are predominantly Sunni, versus to the Shia Iran. So that's who makes up most of the rebels. Israel's president, not so veiled threat to Assad. I've covered this before. Just throw it in there. Perez says Assad will disappear one way or the other. So this was comments sent in an emailed statement. Arab Israeli killed in Syria battles. So far, they say here it was the first one, although I don't know if that's technically true. But the Zionist police claim that they had arrested 3 other Arab citizens who went to fight against the Syrian National Military for leaving the country illegally and traveling to a hostile state. Today is Wednesday, September 18, 2013. I'm Darko. This is my website, Global Government News, or GGNonline.net. I'm sorry to those long-time viewers that have to listen to this intro, but sorry about it. It's for new-time viewers that come across GGN. My YouTube channels are DDarko2012, and my backup is DDarko2013. Sorry to if I sounded frustrated, probably Monday and Friday, but I was very frustrated. I didn't even want to make videos. I almost felt like it was unproductive to even make them because I was so disgusted. I still am a little bit, but hopefully I'll be able to try to explain why in these 3 videos, this news report today, as far as just the whole thing with Syria, and then just more gore, more crap with the mass shootings, and just seeing how everybody just is playing their parts in this role. And I just, you know what I mean? I just don't want to be a part of perpetuating this crap. Assad to this Rybakov, Russia's stance on Syria inspires hope for new global balance. Assad on Wednesday received the Russian deputy foreign minister and basically the delegation. Basically, he thanked him, thanked Russia, and he says that these stances raise hope of drawing a new map for global balance. Again, maybe they're just going to keep him in power. Maybe this is what's going to happen. Maybe he's right. This is about a global balance. Or maybe he doesn't realize that he's been duped yet, but I guess we'll see, right? Russia's initiative put U.S. in awkward position over Syria. God, I swear to God, it's like almost whenever I start recording, and this is when the dogs just start going crazy in the background. I don't know if that's extra pulsing, microwaves, or what, but all hell seems to break loose when I start recording. Alright, so, anyways, political commentator says Russia's proposal to Syria to put its chemical weapons under UN supervision has placed the U.S. in an awkward position. So I think this was the point of the entire time. So saying that the U.S. had no choice but to accept Russia's offer, largely tied to Russia's initiative on this matter. So this was the build-up Russia. I remember Webster Tarpley saying a while back in 2009 that Russia would rise to become this new U.S. So this to me seems to be completely staged, and the whole thing with Iraq kicked off anti-Americanism, and that's why they like protest and hands off Syria protest. So America's views on Russia and Putin are sour. So I've heard before that they actually Russians liked Americans, but for the first time in 15 years, more Americans view Russia as an unfriendly or enemy nation than as an ally or friend in the United States. So, okay, so this was of the Americans of Russia, but I guess that's because they're just following all the propaganda that they're being fed, right? The world hates America again. This is from September 18th, even in two very different nations, Germany and Egypt. So, said it's worrisome because these aren't the usual hotbed of anti-U.S. rancor, but countries with strong histories of cooperation with the U.S. in which America has deep investments. Really, it's just, America has been used as the warmongering whore, I guess, for the international complexes, and as a Zionist-occupied country for Jews, to keep their business going, dominate any sovereign countries. So it's all about sovereignty and taking away sovereign countries and exploiting the resources, and creating an America everywhere, an America coming towards you, coming to you soon, full of all the moral depravity that we can offer. U.S. troops in Sinai under siege as Egypt's junta presses offensive, something you're not hearing a lot about as far as Egypt goes. It says here a lot of people don't even realize the U.S. has troops in the Sinai, but they do. A multinational force of observers, MFO, is made up of almost 1,700 troops at present, and about 400 of them are American troops meant to monitor a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. Again, Israel and Egypt. So that's key, right? So Egypt doesn't attack Israel. That's what all the aid goes towards, as I mentioned. Interesting, though, the U.S. scaled up their presence dramatically in late June in anticipation of the Egyptian coup d'etat. But you got to remember, this goes hand in hand with the Israeli expansion as well, which we might see. And they'll become a dominant power in the Middle East. Egyptian army says, because if you think about it, if Israeli expansion does take place, then they do really have a hand, like they do. I mean, even in kingdoms, they have a hand. Some people think that the Saudi dynasty, the House of Saud, is actually Jewish in nature, that the people themselves are, along with other places like Turkey. So they could already have, Egypt being anti-Americanism. All of these countries are occupied by actual Jews and Zionists and usury type pushers. So, then you got the East and the West, which is just a big sham in my opinion. I think they're both run by the same group, Russia and China and the United States, or basically North America. Egyptian army says they do have the upper hand in Sinai, so I guess the U.S. troops helping them is doing well. So, cutting the loss, Western firms eye Libya exodus as oil flow has been clogged by infighting. So this makes you wonder too, in the wakes of the bombings of 2011, regime change. So, like I said before, separating the people from the resources. Most of you guys have already understand that Libya had a decent standard of living. They're one of the most advanced in Africa. Highest literacy rate, best social programs for their people, and really kind of almost sovereign, so in a way. But Gaddafi dealt with the West, thought he could deal with them, and he learned pretty quickly that he couldn't. So drones were helping the terrorists, and they were released. The CIA was releasing terrorists, arming them to take them out. But so maybe it's not just about resources. Maybe it's about just creating destabilization, constant destabilization, like Iraq. EU is going to monitor the Spain-Gibraltar border in response to UK Prime Minister's calls. So European Union monitors are set to inspect the customs and alleged smuggling at the border between Spain and Gibraltar. The UK just sent a ship there within the last, 3 weeks. EU to consider options for deploying battle groups. Options for deploying European Union battle groups. The EU's rapid response forces will be discussed in a series of meetings September 25th to the 26th. So member states contribute personnel resources to the units, which comprise about 1,500 troops on a rotating 6-month basis. been on standby since 2007 but have not been used. U.S. energy firm enters Kazakhstan oil and gas market. And I found it interesting they put all the numbers in here about, how much acres of oil and gas are going to be pumping in Chevron and Pacific Energy of California. So who has a stake? Well, who doesn't have a stake? The people of Kazakhstan, right? They're just getting bent over like many countries, and they're being raped by these internationalists. So you think Jews in Israel and that would care? I mean, these are their people, right? Because the Khazars, this is their homeland. So, but obviously after the Holocaust and all that, you can see they don't give a shit about their own people, if they're willing to do that to themselves to further their own agenda. Gas prices set record 1,000 days above $3 a gallon. So, well, AAA has come up with a sobering statistic. The average price of gasoline will surpass $3 per gallon Tuesday for the 1,000th consecutive day. That's never happened before. And this is going to get interesting here in this last part of the video. In sign of energy dilemma, Mexico runs low on natural gas. Prices for natural gas over the border in Texas are at historic lows. So what happened earlier this month at the Gulf of Mexico says might defy market logic. Huge tankers arrived from distant Yemen and Nigeria to offload liquefied natural gas at a price 4 times the market rate for natural gas in the United States. The article itself isn't all that interesting, but then again, it just goes to show you Yemen. I mean, the place is a shithole right now, right? Just like other places in Africa. Group urges Yemen to protect women's rights in new constitution. An international human rights group is urging Yemen to ensure its new constitution has adequate protections for women. Human Rights Watch addressed Yemen's national dialogue in its Tuesday statement. There's a historic opportunity for Yemen to end the deeply entrenched discrimination against its women in both law and practice. So this doesn't happen in the U.S. This doesn't happen in the West, right? In Americanism. Effort to rebuild Yemen snags on row over rest of the South. Wrangling over demands by Southern secessionists is holding up efforts at Yemen's most important political gathering in decades' time. So they want to secede, and these people, there's some protests going on here against it, or for it, right? The secession. Yemen arrests 15 pro-secessionist activists in the South. So how do they distract from this? Oh, human rights. The Yemen official, time to end child marriages. Questions remain over the case of a girl who reportedly died. Well, of course, reports came out that that was a bunch of bullshit. So, Republican of Yemen could be soon no more. So kind of like the way of Catalonia in Spain, in that they want to secede, they want to do what they want to do. But the human rights aren't going to look at other issues, right? Toddler forced to watch execution of parents while chained by Obama-backed Syrian rebels. Looking away won't make the problem disappear. So someone sent me this over the weekend, and this is after I was so frustrated and I was really down, and I just, it's just unbelievable. It just goes on. I heard about this and I saw this picture and it just pretty much about made me cry. So this is what Obama is supporting in that. No human rights outcry for that. Man who plotted to imprison a child gets 27 years. Cops found dungeon in his Massachusetts home. Plotted to kidnap children and then imprison, torture, kill, and cannibalize them in his homemade dungeon, reports Boston Globe. But he says here it was just a fantasy, including the child-sized cage, coffin, restraints. It says here, in a soundproof basement. That's all I live for. It's the only reason that gets me up in the morning. He'll be deported back to the UK. Businessman Bob Bashar plotted to kill his wife after she refused to participate in his BDSM lifestyle so he could live with his mistress in their new sex playhouse. Hired a man to strangle his wife to death last year. Business partner testified that he had a sex dungeon under the bar he owned and said it was known as, in the BDSM world, as Master Bob. Here's some audacity, right? France wants to ban hypersexual kid beauty pageants. They put these in quotes, these assholes, hypersexual, because it's actually true what they're doing. But by putting in quotes, it insinuates that it's actually not really the case. Talk of the ban started at the 2010 Vogue photo feature, shooting preteen girls wearing heavy makeup, tight dresses, and high heels. As far as why boys don't do it, they said, I heard him respond that boys would not lower themselves like that. So it's about subjugation of women and females. After Miley copycats, school removes wrecking ball. So GVSU students were riding it nude a la Miley Cyrus, so they wanted to be like her. Fashion face-off, Miley Cyrus versus Rachel McAdams. She looks better in the saucy, sexy peekaboo dress. Harmless bodybuilder inspires fitness world with her ability. I just saw this on Yahoo. 6 Habits of the Leanest Americans. Talking about exploiting women and women's rights, and give me a break.